nominations. And the committee met a week or two after that and went through each nomination, read each one thoroughly, and just felt that the selection process this year would be for Joy Norsworthy. But I will let the mayor go through the proclamation that she has for Ms. Norsworthy. But the committee felt that that was the best selection for this year as a volunteer this year in the community.
Okay. Before I read the proclamation, I'd like to say a few words. I've known Joy for many years now, and I know this community pretty well now, and where else to learn about all of the volunteers but being the mayor. It's incredible how many people put aside their own interests to work for the interest of the community. And there have been very special people that have been honored while I've been in office. The first is our own Gary Leslie, our cable guy, the cable man, who does a fabulous job, volunteers his time each week to film these meetings and the Board of Ed meetings. Our second is Arnold Henderson, who is here tonight. Arnold is our, I guess you call him environmentalist extraordinaire in Highland Park, another person who puts in hours and hours and hours to serve this community. This year, the Volunteer of the Year is somebody that is very special, and very special for a lot of reasons. She is someone that is absolutely selfless, someone who is very committed to several different issues that she has struggled with for very, very many years. But not only is she committed, she is somebody who deals with this with such graciousness that it's really amazing. She deals with issues of ADA compliance and fights hard to make people listen to her. But she does it in such a way that they're pleased to listen to her and they want to work with her. One example I might give you is that just this year, when our new senior housing project went up, I had a visit from Joy and Lois Leving about that project. They said that they were not in compliance with ADA standards and there were some problems there, and they were very worried about that. I very quickly got on the phone with the developer of that project, and she met with her. Now you can imagine a developer hearing at the end of the project, when everything's done, that there are some problems, is not all that pleased with it. But I said to her, this is Chris Folio, the developer from Conifer, the developer of this project, I said to her, no, you don't have a choice, it's going to be fine. Joyce understands what your restrictions are, she understands what the problems are, but she's going to be helpful. Joy met with the developers, explained to them the problems, and they decided to make the changes. I believe they regraded the ramp. Joy pointed out to her that all of their refrigerators were top-bottom and that people in a wheelchair couldn't reach the top, and Chris said, well, can we put in side-by-sides? Now, by the way, Chris is doing projects in other parts of the state, and she's only putting in side-by-sides just for that reason. She gave Chris an education about ADA compliance and the reasons for it. And so now we have a developer going around New Jersey, herself educated, and in all of her projects making sure that they're in compliance. Joy did that. The other thing that, and I'll tell you, she could have walked in and she could have been nasty and demanding and not have gotten anywhere, but Joy is so gracious that you want to listen to her, and so reasonable that you understand this is necessary to do. The second thing that I wanted to bring up, my own experience with Joy, is with our Residence Guide. All of you received Residence Guide this year for the first time ever. There had been other versions in 10, 20 years ago. But the version that we were able to put together is really helpful, has all the information you'd want to know about Highland Park. The person that single-handedly put together the Residence Guide in Highland Park is Joy Norsworthy. Joy spent months and months and months on the phone, on the computer, reaching out, reading every single ordinance that had to do with those boards and commissions, and many of our boards and commissions had no descriptions existing at all. And she put them together in that book, which was absolutely fantastic. And for that, we have to thank you, Joy. And Joy is not only an advocate for ADA compliance and for people with disabilities, she's not only a person that wants to assure that we not just get access to buildings, but we also have access to information. But Joy is also the vice president of the Foster Parents Association of New Jersey, and she has opened her home not only to her own biological children, but to her adopted children and to 17 foster children. And she's really an example to us all. Joy is an absolutely fantastic example of Volunteer of the Year. She is the soul of what we're talking about. Joy, why don't you come on up now? Joy, I want to read you the proclamation, okay? Whereas Joy Norsworthy is an active force on the Highland Park Commission for the Disabled and has struggled for years to educate and ensure compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. And whereas Joy Norsworthy, as a member of the Highland Park Planning Board, has brought valuable insight and sensitivity to the planning of our community to accommodate all residents, and is considered an invaluable resource to government officials, developers, and the public on issues of compliance, always with a real understanding of the human and economic costs. And whereas Joy Norsworthy's efforts extend far beyond physical access to access to information in a clear and simple fashion as editor-in-chief of the borough's Resident's Guide to Highland Park. And whereas Joy Norsworthy is also well regarded statewide as Vice President of the New Jersey Foster Parents Association and is an appointed member of the Governor's Review Panel of the Division of Youth and Family Services. And whereas Joy Norsworthy, together with her husband Phil, are loving parents of 2 biological sons, Philip Jr. and Trey, 3 adoptive daughters, Christina, Connie, and Katrina, and 13 foster children. They set an example of real generosity, kindness, gentleness, love, and devotion to family and to humankind. And whereas, although Joy Norsworthy lives with what many would consider a disability, she is in fact fantastically able. Her passion and her drive for justice, for fair treatment, and for the rights of each and every child to a loving and stable family life make her an inspiration to us all. Now, therefore, I, Meryl Frank, Mayor of the Borough of Highland Park, do hereby proclaim Joy Norsworthy the 2001 Volunteer of the Year, and on behalf of the residents of the Borough of Highland Park, I do hereby commend Joy Norsworthy for her work on behalf of the Borough of Highland Park and its residents.
Joy, your name's now going to be in Borough Hall every day. Okay, we have a couple of things for you.
Yeah.
This is from me. This is not from anyone else. This is a personal gift for you.
Thank you. And on behalf of your council and the committee here,
Thanks for you. Thank you.
I see.
Okay, Joy.
Thank you.
You know what? We're going to pull this back. Here, you know what? Let me put this out. There you go.
See, that's what it's all about, we make accommodations. Meryl knows that I'm highly embarrassed. I can get up and I can speak in front of 1,000 people on issues and on for other people's behalf, for their advocacy. Can't do it for myself, I'm sorry about that. I would like to thank everybody that nominated me. Did not expect this, did not expect it at all. My family who does without, we call in and order a lot of food in because mom has a meeting or something to be done. And my daughters who make sure that I get where I need to go. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of these things. Volunteering has its own rewards, and I think this is far above and beyond anything I had expected. I also want to thank this mayor and this council for giving me the opportunity to make a difference. because a lot of you know that for a lot of years we've tried to make changes and it just hasn't happened. And I think now there's a sense of awareness in the community, and I'm surprised here, but perhaps around the state too. And I think once that awareness is in place, I think we will have access that will be great for everyone. We're an aging society. A lot of us may not have a disability, but as we get older, it's difficult to do things. And I think it's important that we are aware of what changes we can make, and many of them cost absolutely nothing. Thank you.
That because of the volunteer efforts of Joy, our Borough Hall will be accessible. Our front steps, I hope the project will be starting this summer. And with the volunteer efforts of our Councilman Steve Busby, who designed the front steps, and a friend of his who's doing the engineering work on the front steps, we will finally, those of you who've been coming to Borough Hall for a long time know the chain across our ramp. We will have a Borough Hall that people with disabilities can enter from the front door for the first time in years and years and years, and that's thanks to you, Joy. Thank you very much.